Hello and welcome to On the Irregular with me, Java Beret, a podcast where I chat to women from all walks of life about their own unique creative journey, how they got here, how their story has shaped their creative work, what they've learned, what has helped them, and where they plan to go from here. It's an irregular journey for so many of us, and I'm delighted to offer a platform to share these fascinating stories and wells of wisdom. In this episode, I chat to writer, artist and creator of the Moon Journal, Jo Cauldrick. With her Moon Journal website, Instagram, book and Patreon, Jo has created a space full of resources and wisdom about working with the moon cycles and how these can help us find balance, rhythm and focus. Beautifully illustrated and full of inspiring writing, they're not only informative but also a delight to behold. Jo and I chat about her years of travelling around, searching for their dream home, and how this led them to moving in 2020 to live off-grid in Portugal on a piece of land they hadn't even visited before. We talked about the time she was living in a caravan with her young family, and how her decision to learn to crochet and sell fruit hats on Etsy grew her confidence and blossomed into Jo pursuing the creative path she's on now. And of course, we talk about the moon and the transformative effect it's had on both of our lives. Welcome to my conversation with the beautifully warm and inspiring Jo Cauldrick. I hope you enjoy listening as much as I did talking to her. Thank you so much for joining me and for offering up some time to tell me a bit about your story and your work and your journey. So you live in Portugal now, but you were born and grew up in the UK.
Yes, I was born near Reading, in the south of England, and then when I got married, I moved around a lot. So I was in the Isle of Wight for a bit, and then I ended up moving to Doncaster, which is in South Yorkshire. But between then, we'd been all over the place, like Europe and stuff like that, and we were always trying to find like the perfect place to live. So yes, and then we've come to Portugal before, but in 2020, and we decided that that's the right time for us to move and finally start our off-grid dream.
So was that 2020 the year of the first year of the lockdowns?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, wow. You thought that it seemed like a right time to kind of go off grid and...
Yeah, we were talking about it, and then I could see some problems coming over the horizon, and I just thought we need to make a decision now, because I was worried that we wouldn't be able to travel, and I was right. So we bought some land, but we didn't actually view the land because we weren't sure the severity of the travel restrictions. So we did a lot of research, but we ended up buying a piece of land from someone who had had a lot of conversations with. We'd had lots of phone calls over like 2 weeks or something, just finding out about the local area and just picking her brains. And we ended up buying the land before we got there. And then that's another story, because it wasn't exactly what we were expecting.
Oh no.
Because when we got there was a huge power line running through our land, which the lady said it's just at the corner of the land, nothing to worry about. You can grow bamboo up it. And because we'd had lots of conversations, and she gave me her number, and she's very communicative, and we trusted that. We got a lawyer to look over it, and she said everything was fine, nothing came up. But the minute I got there, Java, oh my goodness, it was just so confronting. It was just, this is what you've done, and we've never been to this place, like in the middle of nowhere. We just literally had to trust. And I came over the hill to this little village, and I thought, I hope that's not our land. And I could see them in the distance, these pylons. I thought, oh no. So of course, when I turned up, it was right slap bang in the middle of our 17 acres.
Oh my God.
I know.
That is not the feeling you want to have when you see land in the distance. I hope that's not mine. Oh no.
No, exactly. It was that feeling of dread. And I felt this intuition just before we got there. I was going through France. So everything we owned was in our car. Our children were in our car, everything. The terrier was in the car, but it's quite an adventure story. It sounds like an adventure story, but when we got there, the girls were saying, oh, it's fine, don't worry. And I was sobbing, but what have I done? It was 45-degree heat, so I had to deal with that as well. I honestly, I thought I was going to faint. I don't know how I didn't, but in the village, everybody sort of was really sweet. Like, you bought that land, but they weren't judgy. They just said, oh my goodness, you bought that land? Oh God. And so they all sort of came out the shop, and all the village came out, and everyone was so kind. And we ended up finding an Airbnb that night, and people were helping us, expats and people from different countries, plus Portuguese people. And that was amazing, because I didn't expect that either. And I think if it wasn't for that, I would have definitely turned around and gone back to England.
Oh well, I guess
So,
that's the strength of community. That's
yes,
really valuable.
exactly. Oh,
Wow.
exactly. So that, in a nutshell, is what happened in the year one. And then year two, last year we stayed on our land for a whole year in tents, without anything, like just completely off grid.
Wow. And so how did you source water?
Well, we had a stream, so we, in the springtime, when we had a lot of water, we pumped all the water into IBCs to save it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was enough for showering and doing the washing machine, which we hooked up to an IBC as well, which was really cool, because you see how much water you use. You actually see it.
Yeah,
And then the rest of the time I'd go to the local fountain and fill up drinking water, and then we had this really good, like, I think it's an English brand, they do water filtering, so we had that for drinking water, and we managed. I do not know how we did it, and it was really stressful. So, and then at the end of the year I said, I need a break, I need somewhere that I can have a hot shower and charge my electronics and try and manage my business better. So, because we just had a solar panel, we had 2 little solar panels, and we were doing everything with that.
And you were running your whole business just from there, and living in tents. That's extraordinary.
Yes. Well, it's stupid. It's we're complete nutters. I mean, I think the people in the village thought, yeah, some people move here and they buy a house, they do it up, but you lot, you're crazy. So yeah, got many adventures. And
so how did you decide to then take the break, because you now live part-time, don't you, on the on the land? And then
so I knew that I could stay there. I knew that because I wanted to do retreats and rustic experiences, that if I didn't want to live there, nobody else would want to come and stay under a pylon.
Mm-hmm.
Then the lines got turned on one day, and it was absolutely awful. They were buzzing, everything was like electrified. I felt like it was dangerous just being there. And I went to the village, and I just went to the shop, and there's my friend, she runs the shop. I just burst into tears, and I said, look, I can't do this anymore. I can't. So she said, don't worry, we'll make a meeting with the farmer who's neighbouring you, and we were trying to figure out a way for him to buy the land, because he wants it anyway. So to cut a long story short, in the spring, and I visualised very strongly, Java, I visualised myself being under another piece of land under olive trees.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because I was having this breakdown. I thought, I have to use my imagination to bring this into reality. So I just, every night for about 2 months, I just visualised myself being in this piece of land. And then my friend said, oh, do you like this piece of land? I've got a piece of land for sale. And it was exactly what I'd been dreaming about. It was exactly the same.
That's
so
incredible.
Although it was much smaller,
mm-hmm.
It was much smaller. It was like 1 acre compared to 17 acres, but I had to let go of a lot of that, and then think, it's okay, we'll just have to rebuild again. And we're there now with our tents and our animals.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And an apartment, which we are actually moving out of soon, but that's another story, because it's just too small for what we need. But yeah, so I've got the best of both worlds. I kind of come to the village, and I've made so many more friends being in the village. I've learned more Portuguese being in the village, and we're not so isolated, because we literally came from England straight to the middle of nowhere, and even the locals thought that was isolating. So we learned a lot about ourselves.
Wow.
During that time.
I bet. And I guess in a way, yeah, it sounds like you had a really rocky beginning, but it got you out there. It got you there, and then you've kind of understood and learnt more about your environment, and you had a clear idea of where you could go from there. Gosh, exactly. But that sounds so stressful.
It was. Sometimes you just get used to it, though, don't you? You get used to the struggle, the challenges. It becomes part of normal life. And then you think, oh, I shouldn't moan, because, at least I have this and this. But it took a toll on both of our health. Like Carl, my husband, has epilepsy, and he was having grand mal seizures. I remember calling the fire brigade out to him, and they came cross country with a paramedic to try and stop. And it was just horrible. It was just so much stress, and so, but now things have turned. I think they're improving, definitely. But
Oh,
yeah, that first year.
that's wonderful to hear. And so are you going to build on the land, or are you keeping your tents?
At the moment, we're keeping our tents. We do have a little shed. It's kind of typical for a garden, a managed kind of terraced vegetable garden, I suppose, to
Mm-hmm.
have a little shed with it. So we're going to renovate that. Just simple, just really, really simple. We're actually going to be renting out our entire terrace for somebody to have that immersive rustic experience, because there's so many people coming over here right now, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people need a base.
Mm-hmm.
They need a base so that they can go and explore and see what land they like and just feel the environment and see if it's something that suits them.
Yeah.
So a little bit between like a homesteading experience and Airbnb,
Yeah.
like a hybrid of that. So we're going to be doing that, but at the moment, no plans to build. Although we did start building on our other land, but we couldn't finish it. It was an earth bag house, and that's my major passion is earth building.
Yeah.
With natural materials.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's so good for this environment. It's so cool and it's really good at dealing with the heat. They're the perfect buildings. So,
Mm-hmm.
but lots of work.
A
Maybe
lot.
for the future, like, try not to do everything all at once, Jo. Veggie patch house, move into a different country. Oh yeah, I can do it all in one go, no problem.
Yeah, I think I can identify with that. So,
No.
so this is where you are now. Would you like to tell me a bit about, because I'd like to talk to you about your moon work later on, but I'd like you to tell me a bit about kind of like growing up and your journey to getting to where you are now. And because you told me a little bit about your family, and you said that your parents had quite traditional roles and it was a very loving environment, and it sounds like your grandparents had quite an influence on you as well.
Yeah, I loved my grandparents. They again were very traditional, but I think it worked for them. They sort of knew. I remember thinking, oh, they know their roles. Like that's really cool. But my nan was really, she was really gutsy. And when she was young, she used to jump out of her window and break her leg just to like escape from the house and run out to the field. And I always thought what a cool person she was. And my granddad, he wasn't very demonstrative, but he used to give me hugs and just be really sweet with me. And as he got older, he got more softer, and he held my babies and stuff, and I respected them a lot. And not just that, the things that they could do, the skills they had, like carpentry and canning and making the best apple cakes ever. So my nan taught me about like fairies and magic in the garden, lots of folklore and things like that. And it was magical. And I spent a lot of time with her in the summer when my mum was working, because both my parents worked. And I just loved it. I loved it. Just whole days outside in the farm, running around with the animals. And I think that solidified my love of nature. But also she used to sew and paint and all of that. So I had this like creative, immersive experience with my grandma. And my mum was very much like her. So she did the same kind of things. And my dad's a painter as well. So yeah, I had that all the time around me. So
That sounds very rich.
It does. I mean, it wasn't perfect, and I think my mum and dad struggled to get. I remember my mum saying, I don't care what the house looks like. I need a garden for you two girls," because she didn't want me running around in the road.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something they worked really hard for, and they did get divorced. It wasn't perfect, and but that's okay. That's just what happens sometimes. But yeah, I feel like I had, compared to lots of other people, I feel like I had a really great childhood.
Yeah.
All things considered, yeah. So my love of art and crafts happened then, and also those are the times that they jumped. You didn't have the internet; you had like music in your, you were that. So there wasn't that kind of distraction. It was almost like you were forced to use your imagination a lot. And there were times where I was very bored, and I actually think boredom's good for kids because it sort of forces them to come up with something. So I just come up with games and figure stuff out with my sister, and it was a really nice time, actually.
Yeah, it's true. I think back on similar to my childhood and think about how creative I was with like, exactly that, just like coming up with ways of amusing myself. And my 6-year-old now, and he's like, oh, I'm bored. It's like, well, that's a great opportunity to to figure something out.
I love that, an opportunity. It's like, oh, I didn't want to hear that.
What he wants to hear is, okay, well, here's the iPad.
Yeah, exactly. Then I always got told, just go and play in the garden.
Yeah.
And it's probably the same with you, that I didn't actually want to come in. I remember it was like dinner time. Oh God, can I have 5 more minutes? And I had this wonderful apple tree at the back of the garden. My dad built a pallet tree house, and oh yeah, hours of fun up there. Hours of fun. So
Oh
nature
wow.
and creativity,
Yeah. And
that's
so
part of my upbringing.
did you have a sense, because you talked a bit about how like academically you were very strong, and you were thinking about going into medicine, but like
Oh yeah.
that's interesting that you had this incredible, this very creative environment, it sounds like you were in, but that didn't seem to be an option going forward, and if you kind of looking ahead to your
Yeah.
future.
Yeah, I think that happens to a lot of people, because if you're like an academic student, you do get steered in a different direction. And I think it only is because it only looks good on the school.
Mm.
If you're getting A's and things like that, and then suddenly creativity and art is put down at the bottom.
Hmm.
And if it had been something like, well, Jo, you're good at this, but your creativity is really good. No, I was completely steered away from creativity to more academic things. And I think that pressure, it was just too much. It was just too much to put me into so many classes. I think I did like 16 GCSEs when
Wow.
I count all the ones that I've done. It's so many. And I don't know how your brain's supposed to cope with that. I think I just reached a brick wall, and I obviously didn't do as well as they'd hoped. And I remember my teacher saying, "Oh, Jo, we expected so much more of you." And I remember that thinking, so I'm a failure now. And then everyone was saying, "But Jo, you were supposed to go and do this." And I didn't know what I was doing, but at that time, I didn't think creativity was valuable for
Mm.
my future. I didn't see it. I didn't equate those two things. Apart from one guy, he was a teacher at a college, and he looked at my portfolio and said, "Jo, you need to go to art college. You need to do art." And I said, "No, no, no. I want to do medicine." And I sort of walked out, and then I didn't get the grades I wanted anyway. And that was like the end of the world,
Yeah.
when I was 16, 17, end of the world. I was like, what am I going to do? And I think it's because those times that there was no career advice. It was just, you either make it or you get thrown out, and
Yeah.
then you better get on with it and find a way. I didn't really know what to do at that point, because no
Yeah.
one had told me what my strengths are. It's just, well, you're
Yeah.
an A student, so you go and do medicine, that's it.
Okay.
And I did
Yeah.
like it. I mean, I was interested in it. I was very interested in it, but I think my creative route should have been nurtured more.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but that's just the system, I think.
Yeah, and I guess you don't know what's out there, often, do you?
No,
So it's like, well,
no,
yeah,
you don't.
what are my strengths, but also how could I apply those strengths to the myriad of jobs or
I
different
know.
careers or whatever areas there are to explore. It's overwhelming, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah, but I think for children, I think that young people, they feel like it's finite, and it's all they've known is this schoolistic experience, and it doesn't necessarily. It's very limiting in your mind. It's very limiting to what you think you can and can't do.
Hmm.
So it might have been better for me to take a year out to go traveling, just to not to find myself, but think, okay, I'm gonna take a break and just discover new things.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and
yeah,
so what did you do then? So how did you kind of begin to find your way in the world?
I went to university
Hmm.
in Winchester to study in a completely different subject. It was art and English literature, because those are the other two A levels that I did.
Hmm.
I did so many things. And I didn't like it. I hated it. I thought, what is this? What is this? It doesn't. I used to love reading, and then it became forced, like reading novels really fast.
Yeah.
And I just thought that takes the love of reading and writing away. I was writing so much, my poor fingers were hurting from writing all the time. And yeah, I came out of that, and then I got told I was a dropout. I remember going to the job centre and, oh, you're a dropout. You dropped out. No, I left. So I didn't get into debt with a course I don't like.
Yeah.
But and then I just really enjoyed working. I really enjoyed earning my own money. So I just got as many jobs as I could and started earning my own money, got my own car, and found somewhere to live in the first week that I left university. I was quite independent,
Hmm.
and I didn't have my parents had split up, and they didn't have space for me anyway. So I didn't have anything to fall back on. I just thought, well, off I go. And I ended up working with children children because I love children. I
Hmm.
love so I worked in nursery, I worked as a private nanny, and lots of different jobs in between. But still, I was quite creative, but I still didn't make that my focus. It was almost like I'd lost it. It's like part of me that had been lost.
Hmm.
So I didn't really think of it. I didn't value it. I
Hmm.
didn't think about it at all until much later on when I had children, because I wanted to make them things. So that's how it started again.
Oh, really? Wow. So you just kind of like parked it for what, 10 years
It
or?
felt it felt like that. And
Hmm.
then we were homeless again. Like, we got married, had so many problems, like financially, and things going wrong for us. And we ended up buying a caravan and camping on a campsite between campsites, because you got to move every couple of weeks.
Hmm.
So I had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and we were living in caravan. And then I thought, I really want to learn crochet. So I started learning crochet from a book. I really wish there were videos at that point, because
Hmm.
it was much, much more helpful for things that you want to learn how to do. And I just learnt to crochet, and then I opened my Etsy shop, and then I started selling hats, and then fruit hats, and they were for vegans, like mainly for the vegan movement. And it just took off. Like, people were like, "Oh yeah, I want a fruit hat," and they're all like different coloured, like bananas and kiwis and
Oh, brilliant.
strawberries, and yeah, and that was really, really good for me. But mainly it was for confidence. Mainly I thought, oh my god, I can do something and people want to buy it. It wasn't really about money. It was more like, oh my gosh, people want my stuff. It makes me feel confident, and I think that sort of opened the floodgates for more creativity. But it was always Java. It was always a breakdown, and then a breakthrough that followed, a creative breakthrough that followed the breakdown. So it would always be like me going, oh, what am I going to do with my life? And crying, and like the end, like literally right to the bone with raw emotions, thinking, I'm so stupid, I can't do anything, I'm a failure. And then from nowhere, this creative like surge of energy. And then that's what happened with the moon journal as well. This is like the same kind of energy, like, I don't know what it is. And then
Wow.
flow,
Yeah.
and flow follows. It's
Oh,
amazing, really.
that's interesting that you've identified that so clearly. That's the process that you have to go through. You have to kind of like really, I guess, go into the depths of your soul to
Oh
question,
yeah.
and then it comes through. Wow. This episode is sponsored by life coach, meditation teacher, and people professional Jana Puisha. Are you ready to change your life? Are you looking to grow your business? Do you want to create a routine that nourishes you and find a way to tune into your true self? Jana Puisha is a life coach with a gentle, intuitive approach who works with women who are balancing full-time jobs with building personal businesses and developing their passion projects. Her belief is that we have all the answers we need inside of us already. And with her research-based coaching, Jana is here to challenge your thinking, help you come unstuck, and bring those answers to the surface. Jana understands the juggle of balancing a full-time job with creative projects and can help you work out a strategy and the motivation to start and to keep going. If you'd like to learn more, Jana is offering a free 15-minute call where you can ask any questions and she will talk you through the coaching process. You can find Jana Puisha at janapuisha.co and at Jana Puisha on Instagram and TikTok. And so, because now you work. Do you want to tell me a bit about your work with the moon, and
Yeah,
how
yeah.
did that begin? How did you start getting into that?
Again, we were homeless, so we moved from the Isle of Wight because we couldn't afford the rent. It just kept going up, going up, going up. We were working in between jobs and doing, the Etsy and stuff, but we just couldn't keep on top of it. So we were thinking, oh well, we'll do some van life stuff. And we moved to Doncaster, and my sister-in-law said, oh, just camp out in one of my bedrooms. It wasn't a long-term solution. We were technically homeless. We didn't have a home of our own. And I was out walking with my husband and my girls on a field, and I just thought, I can't do this. I can't. I'm so irresponsible. I should have a house by now. My children, what they need, all this stuff. And I was crying and crying and crying. And then on the way home, I found a pen on the floor, and I picked it up. And I thought, I need some rhythm in my life. I need some rhythm and focus, because if I don't have anything else, I need that. So I thought, well, I'm going to use the moon, because my grandma taught me about that, and I was using it anyway, the lunar cycle. So I just sat down and I started thinking, well, what would be really helpful as a tool for me? So I started drawing some moons on different cards, and then I put a wreath around them to sort of represent what that meant, just because I like drawing. And it was so weird, because it came right back to the time where I used to doodle with pens. I've always drawn, like the whole of my life, just with a pen or a pencil. So it was always tapping back into that, and the magic started to flow. And I came up with, I think it was the 8 main phases, and another like illustration card. And I told my friend, she's Jo, you've got to put them on Instagram. So I changed my name to the Moon Journal, put them on Instagram, and if you go back through all of my pictures, you'll see that first post. It's still there.
Oh, lovely.
And, and I posted it, and I said I need some pre-orders. But she said, oh, well, you just get pre-orders, Jo, and then you can pay for the printing. I had no money. So I got 10 pre-orders. They paid for the first print run, and then the Moon Journal just took off, because I don't think there was anything like that, and people weren't taking pictures of their cards like they do now. I was taking pictures of my oracle cards, and people were like, what the hell? Like, what do you do with these? They're nice, they're pretty and everything, but what do you actually do with them? So I sent them out without an instruction booklet, because I thought, oh, well, it clearly is obvious what it is, but people didn't know. And so I obviously modified and improved my product. And then I just got really ambitious about it. I was like, I'm going to really put all my effort into this. And I funneled so much energy into building my Instagram and to build my business. Because it's part of me. I felt like it represented me as a woman on my own, just me, it's Jo, being able to do something incredible with my art, and helping other people to find that rhythm, even if it was just with a card that you put up on your altar, or take it in your handbag or your journal or whatever, and you know where you are in the cycle of the moon, and what that represents in terms of your energy and your activities you can plan. And just to just be in the moment of, okay, I'm just like the moon. I have many phases. I can be low. Sometimes I can be beautiful and like amplify everything and be so good at manifesting, and then other times I need to crawl away and be dark in a dark space, not like moody, but maybe I just want to retreat, and that's okay too. There's this like beautiful flowy feeling. So that's the Moon Journal. That's how I started it anyway.
And because it's progressive, you have like subscription as well, don't you? And it seems like it has like different facets.
Yeah, it has, because now we're in Portugal. I realised that I'd have to move to digital stuff. I couldn't maintain the sending out of my stuff, because it's all being very in-house, homemade. We would print in England. I didn't print abroad, and we had some presses. We did everything on our own. We printed all our booklets on our own, and that was really hard, because we were at the point where we thought, oh, should we scale up and get people in? But that never happened. So we moved, and we tried to maintain it. And it was so difficult with the logistics, with what was happening around the world. And so I ended up putting a lot of focus into my digital printable sheets and my printable decks. And people could print them off at home and make their own tarot decks and stuff. So I thought that was really good. And then I opened Wild Moon Mail, which is Patreon based. But before then, it's been going for 4 years. I just did it with a different platform. And now I have beautiful patrons. And really, that's such a help for me, because when you get somebody that's willing to do that, it's quite a big deal. I mean, I might seem like I have a big following, but that's not really important. It's more the nurturing people that are already there, that I'm trying to give them something that they love and help. So yes, I do that, and I do worksheets and meditation with the moon, and that's been so regular through everything that I've done. I've always kept that going every Sunday. So, and I need that as well for my own rhythm and focus too.
Because I started getting into the moon, I think about 2 or 3 years ago, and it had a transformative effect on my life, because I think I think part of it was that it allowed me to, it gave to give myself permission to rest. I think
I was
because
going to say that.
yeah,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
that was huge. That was huge, just
Yeah.
emotionally,
Yeah.
mentally, physically, in every way. Because I'd always felt like unless I'm 100% all the time, I am failing at everything, and that's not,
No.
that's not sustainable.
No, it's not, and it's not true either. I mean,
Yeah,
I say to my friends that you can be productive in resting.
yeah,
That's still a productive thing for your complete body soul. You
yeah,
can go for a walk in nature. That's productive because it's adding towards your imagination, your well-being. It's just as productive as sitting there and writing an essay or creating a product. It's the same thing.
yeah.
It's just that we don't view it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. It's so I have to remind myself of this daily. It's really because,
Same here.
like, yeah, when I still have in my head this idea that I need to be working 9 till 5, like at
Yeah.
my desk, and if that's not, then it's not been a full day's work. And it's like but it's bogus. It's so untrue. But I have to make a conscious effort every single day to kind of like give myself the chat, like, no, this is valuable. Like you said, going for a walk
Yeah.
in the forest,
Yeah.
resting, lying down, whatever it is so valuable, and it's part of the process, and it's part of the work in inverted commas.
Oh,
um
I know. I hate
yeah,
that word.
yeah,
Yeah, I know,
exactly.
because you say to yourself, I've worked really hard. Well, first of all, you don't need to, there's nothing hard about it. You don't really need to do that. And then we equate with, oh, well, I was there at my desk for 5 hours, but were you actually doing your best work for 5 hours?
Yeah,
I always think it's better to do 15 minutes of really like solid, like magical flow work than just pretending to yourself that you've been sat staring at a screen all day and you haven't really achieved much.
yeah.
So and also, when you have kids, like you've got children, it forces a different type of flow, definitely.
Hmm.
And living in this environment at 40-degree heat, I can't do anything. No one can do anything.
Yeah,
So there's me, and it's so funny, Java, because there's so many people from different countries, not from the UK, and they have the same mentality. So they come here, it's like, oh, I haven't got my house built. Oh, I've been doing it for 2 years now. I'm so slow. And there's other people just going, you're crazy, right? It took me 10 years to build my house.
yeah,
Just slow down, slow down.
yeah,
People say
yeah.
it about the English all the time, like, oh, you're English, aren't you? Yeah, you need to slow down. Yeah, because it's ingrained. It's ingrained from school and work society stuff. And
Yeah,
you
yeah,
do need to give yourself permission daily to
yeah.
rest.
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely, and then to understand that, yeah, like you, as long as you rest, you will then have more energy for when it's time to be dynamic and
totally.
and fuller and to have, like you said, that creative flow. And it really is, in a way, because what I've started doing now is like mapping out across the year how I'm going to work depending on the moon cycles. It's like, okay, well, that will be the time for, say, editing, and that will be the
Yes,
time for drawing or for writing, and it's so powerful.
I know, isn't it? And even if you don't map it out, you'll feel yourself instinctively doing those activities. If you
Yeah,
follow the moon and the astrology for long enough, you will actually just tap into flow. Like
yeah,
I will be out in my garden going, yeah, I'm going to get stuff done. And then it's like an Aries moon or something. It's like, oh, obviously. Or if I'm like nourishing or nurturing the land and focusing very much on the element of water, it's like, oh yeah, like I'm in this like watery moon cycle.
hmm,
And it fits so well. And each full moon has a different energy.
hmm,
And I think that's really, I mean, even on the stock market, they launch and sell stocks during the lunar cycle. You see peaks during the new moon and the full moon. So it's not just something that women who are very spiritually connected do.
yeah.
It's across the board. People use the lunar cycle,
That's so
so it is really
interesting.
powerful. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Gosh, the stock
it
market.
is.
I mean, that's like you just
Yeah,
couldn't
the
think
stock
of anything
market.
more
Yeah,
opposite. That's
because it's
brilliant.
mystical. It's magical. It's not. It really is something beyond what we think we know. It's
Yeah.
very it's strange and wonderful at the same time, and it is the subconscious. It represents the feminine subconscious, and we
Hmm.
have to use that to program our conscious um,
Hmm.
mind in the daytime, when we're awake and stuff. So yeah, it's a powerful tool, and I'm glad that you're doing the same thing. I think planning with the moon is really really good for your activities and your energy, and just funneling energy in, like
Yeah.
for launching things. And I
Yeah.
always used to do that with the moon gem. I still do. But launches and when to retreat and plan, and really cool.
Yeah, no, it's and I think because I grew up with a very kind of, my mum sounds quite similar to your grandmother in some ways, like you know, I grew up with natural medicines and a kind of a sense of, you know, that there's more out there than what, you know, perhaps we're told, and about like listening in. And my mum was, I think I was always a bit skeptical. My kind of way of rebelling in some ways was to be a bit like, oh, I don't believe in astrology and I don't believe in whatever. And because there's a stigma to it as well, that you're kind of, that you're, I think in some ways, that you're stupid, that you would buy into that you would believe this kind of this silliness. And I think there's also some sexism in it, you know, that it's, you know, it's silly women believing these airy fairy things. Exactly. And you know, and I'd internalized that. And then when I started, I kind of came to it myself, like reading about the moon, and because I came to it without my mum kind of telling me about it, I was able to actually really, really hear it and read it and absorb it. And that's just, the more I read, I was like, it's just, okay, if we can't explain it, but it is evident in everything, in cycles of nature, in, you know, in what's the type of, this is like a type of fish that only mates on the full moon. And you know, just the tides, just looking at the tides, that they are controlled, it's like, that's enough for me to kind of, to go, fine, I'm just gonna embrace this. And then once I did start doing it, I just saw the effects immediately in my life practically, but also just within me. And it was really, it felt like a really healing process kind of coming into that. So
I know, you're so right though. I mean, some things you can explain within, but you can't necessarily explain with your linear graphs or anything like that. You can't, and that's what we want. We always want to overanalyze. We always want statistics for things. So always, I must know how this works. But at the end of the day, it's actually simpler than that. You actually feel how it works. And that's what I say to women, like, you need to get outside under the moon. It's fine doing your rituals and stuff indoors, but you need to get outside. You need to be staring at the moon. You need to be feeling everything if you can.
Yes.
And see how that feels to you, because we all have our own personal relationship with the moon. It's an individual thing. So when we look at the moon, it's a chance for us to look at what's hidden. You know, what we're hiding within and what we need to admit to ourselves. And it's shadow work, really. It's really helpful. I think it's really helpful. You have a moment of silence with the moon. When do we really get that? Everything, we're on all day on our laptops, there's noise. You need to have that moment. It's like nature's just there for us all the time, guiding us, giving us prompts and nudges. So that's why I also need to be here around nature. I just have to be, like, when I'm on the flat all day working, it's nice, everything, like, I get stuff done, but I yearn to be back sitting there under the trees. I just have to be there. It's like healing stuff.
That's like tuning into your environment, isn't it? That's so powerful that you have found a way of living where you can have, you know, like you said, like, have that access to nature and be working so closely with it in a way, and then helping and supporting others on their paths. That's really meaningful work.
Well, frankly, sometimes I feel like that I put so much pressure on myself. Like, for me, I want to provide the best for everyone, and I still don't think it's enough. That's the other thing, Java, isn't it? Like, you have to train yourself to say, you know, what I'm doing is enough. I'm only just one me. I can't do everything. And there's a lot of layers of commitments that I have. You know, I've got to water my garden, and I've got to create the energy and look after the animals, and then I have to spend time with my children, and then the local community, because I'm very, very active with that. And then also manage my business as well. Like, there's so many different layers. So it's like serious multitasking. Time, like, juggling.
It is.
Sometimes it's okay though. I think it's okay as long as you don't overcommit. I mean, you must find that as well with the things that you've been through and the things that you do now. I always
Yeah.
think it's really interesting, like how to find that creativity in amongst all the other things that you quote unquote have to do
Yeah.
to keep
Yeah.
your life running. It's like a
Definitely.
duality. You live
Yeah.
in like your imagination world, and then you have to do like the boring stuff.
Mhm.
Come
Mhm.
back and do the boring stuff like bills and paperwork. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I know, and I guess that's another thing that's quite I find quite useful about the moon. It's like, okay, well, in the waning moon, that's when I'll get all my admin done. It's just
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
you
Cut
know,
things back, trim
yeah,
things off. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it is a juggle, and I think especially when you're a parent and you're
Mm.
so needed and things don't go to plan a lot of the time, and it's and I often find it quite difficult to deal with change if plans change, and that's something that I've always had. And being a parent, it's like, right, I really need to work on this. I really need to work on just being able to be more fluid, and I guess embrace it in a way, embrace that change. And because often you don't know what could come in the smallest ways. You could end up changing plans on a day, and it's like, well, I had it in my head that I was going to do all of this, and now my kids at
Yeah.
home and I've got to look after them or whatever. but
Yeah.
then but then also just like, well, this is a chance for me to spend time with them and let go. And
Let go.
yeah,
I know.
it
There
is
is a need for that, isn't there? The control, because it makes you feel stable. And it's not a
yes,
bad
yeah.
thing. You need that stability. And I feel like I'm the complete opposite. It's like last year, no, everything can go wrong. It could be a fire. There's a fire going at the moment that's really big. So everybody has
um
to be vigilant. And, it feels like it could either change something quite dramatically, like,
mm,
so one day something will escape, like farm animals will escape. Someone needs you to help them with something, or
mm,
I feel like my life is like that all the time, but I think that's the environment that I'm in. So I think that in a way that's good. Maybe that's thrown me in at deep end. Maybe
mm,
I was more like the way you're explaining it, but I
mm-hmm,
needed things to be planned.
mm-hmm.
And if I didn't have it, I would just really struggle if things weren't exactly right.
Yeah.
But you'll be fine. I mean, like you said, it's an opportunity. I think that it requires awareness. Like when you start feeling like, oh no, like just it's okay, I'll have to figure something out and be
Yeah.
flexible. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's all
Yeah.
about balance though, isn't it?
God,
Because we do
balance.
need stability, and we do need to know where we stand.
Mm-hmm.
I especially, I feel like as a mum, I need my home base.
Mm-hmm.
I need to feel my roots in, and then I can deal with quite a lot if I've got my roots in.
Yeah. Yeah, the foundations. Yeah.
Yeah, the foundation.
And how are your kids finding living? Do you homeschool?
We've always homeschooled, actually. They've never been to school.
Mm-hmm.
But when we came here, my oldest daughter, she's going to be 18 next year.
Wow.
So she's always studied on her own, and school's not really for her. But my youngest, who's 14, she decided to go to school
Right.
a few months ago off her own back, and she decided she wanted to learn Portuguese, and she wanted to have that experience at school. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, yeah, of course, off you go. And she's done so well. I'm so proud of her. She's never been to school before. She said it's really noisy because she's not used to that. But I think she's doing really, really well. And I think that and I want to empower her,
Yeah.
to
That's a
to make
really,
those decisions and trust herself. So I
yeah.
said, yes,
I mean,
go.
what a brave decision to make, that not
I
only,
think,
okay, I want to go to school, but I'm going to go to school in a country where, yeah, I
yeah,
don't know the language. That's huge.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I am really proud of her, and it's a really lovely small, like it's a small area, a small village like school, but yeah, it's so beautiful. Like the views, she's up in the mountains, like just it's so beautiful, and everything just lined up. When something feels right. Like I had to go through a lot of myself, like just, oh no, what if something's horrible to her, or what
Yeah.
if she doesn't have to ask for something, and she said, look, I'm fine. She got the bus on her own. I cried when she left. I cried. I have to get through this with deep human breath. Um, but yes, I have to trust her, and I'm proud of her for doing that. So yeah, I think it'd be very beneficial for her to speak the language that
Yeah,
the country that we're in. Very, very beneficial, and she's doing really well.
definitely.
Kids just
Def-
soak up everything, though, don't they? They're
yeah,
just amazing.
yeah, no, it's really because I grew up in different countries, like when I was about 1 or 2, we moved to the south of France from London, and then later, when I was 8, we moved to Spain. And first we started off in Andalusia, and then we ended up in Barcelona, and I was there till I was 18. And
Really?
yeah, and it was
Oh
it
yeah, because you speak Spanish, don't you?
yeah,
Fluent.
and it was
Yeah.
really, it was hard. It was definitely hard, but oh my God, I'm so grateful for it. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful that I had that opportunity to truly
Oh, that's
experience
lovely.
another culture and to
Yes.
learn other languages, and
Yeah.
that, I have that now. I have, it feels like a gift. It really feels like a gift, and to it
Oh,
gave me a real kind of idea of how to adapt as well, because
yeah.
yeah, I was 8 years old, and I was in I went to Spanish school, and none of the kids spoke English. They learnt a little bit from
Yeah.
from pop songs,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, and I had to really kind of like think about, okay, well, how can I be a friend how can I make friends when I can't communicate
Wow.
with words, but how
Yeah.
can I, communicate in other ways with my face or with humor that's nonverbal? And I think, looking back, like those are such valuable skills, because
I know they are really valuable because
yeah,
you're put in that position and you're almost problem solving. And then it's
yeah,
so the psychology you've been using and your ability to pick up on signals, very subtle signals that
mm-hmm,
would benefit you and make sure that you're in the right place. I mean, it's vast
yeah,
actually. And you're right when you say it's a gift,
yeah,
100%. I think that would be for Aurelia. It
yeah,
is a gift. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
It's
wonderful that you have that
yeah.
second language. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, no, so and like, you see the world in a different way through different
You
languages as
do.
well, because there's like different expressions for different things, and it's often quite funny and lovely, and it's yeah, it's so rich, and we really think about our kids, and we'd like to be able to offer that to them as well. But it's, we've got a really strong community, so we're trying to kind of like figure out if we could somehow do half and half in some way, because I really want them to experience that,
Yeah.
to also to be out of their comfort
Yeah.
zone,
Mm,
to be out of their
yes,
comfort zone. And
exactly.
I think that's
Yes,
really healthy as well, to experience
it
discomfort.
is.
Yeah.
And I think my children are resilient. I've taught them resilience. So when they
Yes.
came here, they had to put the tent up. They had to find the water. They were living in that heat. I mean, they couldn't just game all day. They had
Yeah.
to um, just make do and swim in the river and brush their teeth in the water. And like it was all very it seemed like survival.
Yeah.
It just seemed like,
Yeah.
but they loved it. They say they
Mhm.
have a great memory of last year. Isn't that interesting? Like I was pulling my hair out,
Yeah.
crying most days. And they're like, yeah, it's great. So actually, it's so interesting how our worlds, the world view of things can be so different. And
Yeah.
so for your children, I mean, half and half, like just that experience, they'd probably. I mean, I went to Norway when I was younger, and I picked up the language because I
Wow.
was there with my uncle and auntie who were American, but they were teachers there.
Mhm.
So I just went to school and I picked it up really fast. And you just do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really fun traveling around stuff. It's really good fun. You'd love Portugal, by the way. Everyone's they love children, they love families, they love just people. Just the
Yeah.
loveliest people.
Yeah. I've been to I went to Lisbon like for a long weekend, and absolutely
Yeah.
fell in love with it, just adored it.
Mm.
And we keep
Yeah.
on it, like we really want to explore, yeah, the more rurally, I think.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
just the food, oh my God, just the vegetables, taste of
I
vegetables.
know. Yeah, and we have fruit trees on our land, and and when I'm sure they think I'm mental, like, but I was like going around with the farm and going, "Oh my God, you've got a peach tree! You've got a peach tree! You've got a fig tree!" Yeah, yeah. What are you? Yes, obviously, but I just can't believe all the fruit and they're all like hundreds of years old, and olive trees and grapes and what else have we got? Persimmons,
Oh,
and then
magical.
pomegranate.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
mean, I can't believe it. I'm okay then. I don't have to worry. It's all of the trees. Yeah. So it is
God.
a good environment for the growing of things. And I pass gardens all the time, and these old ladies they're so good at growing their gardens.
Yeah.
So I get lots of
Yes.
tips on how to do things. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So, do you have any idea? I mean, how has Brexit affected you?
Well, luckily we actually moved and got our residency before Brexit. So
Okay.
it was just literally a month away from closing. So we got our residency sorted out, which is fine. And we also have our national security number. We have our tax number. Everything was quite easy to get.
Mm-hmm.
But I have friends who now have to queue up in London to go and get their visa. And sometimes it's straightforward and sometimes it's not.
Right.
Sometimes it's who you speak to.
Yeah.
But the network here is really strong, and there's actually in the local town, it's more like a city, they've actually employed people to deal with European
Oh, wow.
immigration, and we've got a lady from Afghanistan. She helps people from that region, and a guy from India. He helps people from that region, and then another lady who helps people from Europe. And we have lots of Ukrainian refugees as well coming in. There's lots and lots of help in this
Wow.
region. And I think that there's a way around it. There's
Yeah.
always a way around it. And I think that at the moment, they don't really know what they're doing. Like there's paperwork and there's things being changed and things
Mm.
can't, you know, nobody really knows. I don't think it was very organized really, but
Mm-hmm.
that it's just a technical thing. I don't think it's going to stop people coming and
Mm-hmm.
starting their lives. There's always a way to do it. And
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people, because I really want to encourage people to stick with that. If they want to do their dream life and they want to have off-grid living and stuff,
Yeah.
that you don't give up on it. You can get there.
Yeah.
Just need to talk to people. Come here and talk to people and tell people what you want to do. And
Yeah.
so the community, even where I live, and I love my village because I think it's like the best village. I'm a bit biased, but everybody wants to help each other. Like the other day, somebody arrived at the village, an Italian guy, didn't know anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So my friend who runs the cafe, she's Portuguese, she phones me. I go down there and swap numbers, and at the end of the day he's like met like 10 people, and then he goes to somewhere else and he's, oh Jo, I'm so glad I came here. I was really worried I didn't have any friends, and now I'm really happy. And I want people to feel like that. I want people to feel included and
Yeah.
happy, and I love that kind of thing. Love
That,
making friends and networking.
that's so special that you found that community.
Yeah, it is really special, really
Wow.
special. And
And
the locals, they like it. I said, well, what do people think? Like, all these people come into the village, and
mm,
my friend always says, no, that they're much older now, so they need people to be here and families, and they
ah,
need it.
yeah, that makes
Otherwise,
sense.
we die. Basically, the villages die, the schools die.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, of course. And so do you feel settled now? I mean, of course, you never know what lies ahead, but
Yeah.
you do
Well,
sound pretty
yeah, I
idyllically
am
happy.
settled. Well, I mean, thank you. I am settled. I've got the children here in school, so Relly will have to be in. She wants to finish school here and get her
Hmm.
driving license and stuff. Um, but and then we have animals here. I do feel more settled. It doesn't mean that I might not move somewhere else in Portugal,
Hmm.
but there's so much money being invested here for us, and energy, and I feel like if we can, and it's hard. I mean, it's not like my business has suffered massively, so
Right.
I'm having to find innovative ways to create an income and abundance for myself all the
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
But yes, I do answer your question. I do feel like it's home, and I would say to anyone else who wants to do this, like, give it time, because for a long time I didn't feel like it was home. I felt very, I mean, I am in a country that I don't know. I'm in an environment I don't know. I don't know the language. I don't know the rules, the customs, everything. I'm having to learn everything.
Mm.
But like you were saying, it makes for a richer experience, and it actually helps you grow.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really like pro inner growth and self-development. And I just think sometimes it's a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Just a good thing to do. Like pack up everything and leave,
Yeah.
which is what we did. It's a bit crazy, but yeah, I know loads of families who've done the same, and that they love it here. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, it's so inspiring to hear
yeah,
you talk about it. And like you say,
mm,
it's not been easy and straightforward, and it sounds like you had a
no,
really, really hard transition, I suppose. But
yeah, we did, and we lost a lot of money because when we sold our land, it's rustic land, so we
right.
lost loads, like tens of thousands of
Oh,
pounds from it. But then I've made peace with that. Like, no, what's the point of holding on to that? What's the
yeah,
point of it? It just doesn't do you any service to yourself. So
yeah.
yeah, I've just tried to build my life back up again, and that
Mhm.
takes a lot of resilience. do that, and but
Yeah.
I feel like it's worth it. Yeah, it's
Oh,
definitely worth it. Yeah.
that's such a beautiful story. That's lovely.
Hopefully
Oh,
it will just keep getting better.
yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like it really sounds like there's such amazing strength in your community, and that's a really huge part of
Yes,
it, the support there.
yes, it's such a big part, because if I hadn't have had that, I would have turned around and gone back to, but to back to what I was renting. I would have had to find a
Mm.
rental, blah blah blah. And sometimes it's knee jerk for you to want to go back to what you think is a place of comfort, but actually you're just replacing your problems with more problems somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Like the grass is not always greener,
Yeah.
but I feel like there's more opportunity for what we ended up doing here, more flexibility, more freedom,
Mm-hmm.
more grey area, which is, like, it doesn't matter if you don't quite fit in. There's a certain sense of like there's time for you to find your way. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to like do all these things that you have to do in Britain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the community is key, and we all care a lot about each other. I mean, I spent 3 hours outside, just sitting outside a cafe last night, just talking to people,
Yeah.
talking to local ladies, Portuguese, and learning my language, and just finding out how people are doing. And then the older people around here are amazing. They're 90 and they're carrying sticks on their head, or they're going around with a tractor, like chopping off things, walking around with buckets, and then lambs and sheep. And it's incredible. They're so fit and healthy. I haven't seen
Yeah.
one Zimmer frame.
Oh wow. That's and I think it's so important as well for kids to see that, to see
Yeah.
different
Yes.
generations and the
Yes.
power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
That because I think I have noticed that in the UK, because in Spain, you see all generations out all the time, and
Yes.
everybody's
Yeah.
talking to each other, and
Together. Yeah.
yeah, together, exactly. Whereas I have noticed in the UK, it kind of feels quite divided and quite separate, and as you get older, you're expected to kind of disappear.
Yes,
You
you
know,
are. It's horrible. It's absolutely,
yeah.
and I love old people. I know it sounds really condescending. I don't mean it like that, because I've actually
Mm,
worked as social care, and I spent a lot of time with older ladies who had no one. Like no one would care about them. It'd be Christmas time,
mhm,
and someone had abandoned them. And here, it's a different type of thing. We all
mhm.
talk to each other, and they're seen as equals like us. The children are running around and they're talking to the older ladies, and yeah, it's so different. It's like an old world. It is like
Mhm.
that. It's like stepping back. But then you lived in Spain, so you must have seen that as well, in
Yeah.
the like more rural communities. People are always chatting to you. You don't get any work done. You don't get any work because you're always talking to people. I think that's lovely. I really didn't ever have that in the UK. Like you would live in a cul-de-sac and we'd know one person, and they might talk to you, and
Yeah,
everybody else like, oh God, I've got to get back from work. I've got to shut my front door and
yeah,
be
yeah,
gone. And
yeah.
this on the other side, it's like, yeah, someone calls me and bangs on my front door. Do you want to? Yeah, and I have to tell you this as well, John. The other day, I got given a lamb. I have a little lamb called Olive,
Oh my God.
and she is 11 days old.
Oh
and
my
and
goodness.
yeah, this is just me going into the cafe, minding my own business, trying to get a lemonade, and I come out with a lamb. This has happened. And now she's my little
Beautiful.
darling, and I'm going to raise her to keep our land all nice and short. Like she's our
Oh,
lawnmower, basically.
yes, of course. Oh,
So
that's just
yeah, she's
magical.
adorable. I'll
Wow.
I'll get her out at the end. I'll let you see what she looks like. She's so cute. She's
Please do.
sitting in the office. She's sitting in the office.
Oh,
Bless
wow.
her.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing your story and for telling me more about your work and your life, and just how, yeah, I guess the conviction that you have of like just make that change, take that chance, and keep going, and trust. And it feels so inspiring to hear that, because I know that a lot of people kind of have these ideas and thoughts about it, but it is quite a leap to kind of to actually do it and figure it out along the way, because yeah, of course there's the financial side and
Yes.
working, but I do think the internet is pretty incredible in that way, that we can now
Yeah.
use it as such a brilliant tool to carry on working, and you don't have to be in one place to do that.
Exactly. And
So
and first, well, thank you for allowing me to speak about things. And it's lovely to actually talk through it, because it
yeah.
gives me a sense of perspective about what I've been through. But I would say, like, to end, it's like you've got a vast imagination. Sometimes even problem solving, you use your imagination to do that. So it's about tapping back into it, and it's vast.
Yeah.
And you can make things work that you didn't think were possible. I know, because I managed to sell a piece of land with a big pylon in it. So the power of your subconscious mind and the moon, it is really powerful.
Yeah.
And I'll always use it now.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Java.
You can find Jo online at themoonjournal.com, on Instagram at themoon_journal, and on Patreon. Jo's book, Muse with the Moon, is available on Amazon. Thank you to Yana Puisha for sponsoring this episode. Thank you for listening to On the Irregular. Please remember to review and subscribe, as it helps others find us.